Welcome to the Mount Angel Theater Studio, everyone. Wow, what a road this has been. Trying to get all of the technology working. I'm going to sit down here for a minute. My name is John Deschler, coming to you from a historically rural small town in Oregon that's right between the major business center of Portland and the state capital of Salem on the east side of the I-5, Mount Angel, Oregon. And I wanted to attempt to run this live stream today with higher audio levels and a simpler set while I'm still on my quest to integrate all the systems that we have going on here to bring this live streaming capability to this rural theater. Originally built in 1912 or before, the Mount Angel Theater was originally a silent movie house, later to become a talkie movie house. And my dear friend Stu Rasmussen purchased this building in 1980 and began a conversion from what was a movie theater to a live performance and video production space. Live performance theater and a video production studio. Stu was a bit of a technical wizard and loved putting together all the lights and the old video cameras and wiring them all into a major control room in the middle of the back of the theater. And sadly, Stu passed away in November of 2019. Is that right? No, excuse me, getting my dates mixed up. Would have been 2021, November. And he asked if I would take over this space. So that's what I've done the last 2.5 years. Been providing jazz and classical music concerts and humble neighborhood events, performing the Great American Songbook and various other repertoire from different practitioners and performers. And this year, I'm opting for a few other experiments. I lost access to my elder son, Nate Deschler, consummate musician, excellent pianist and bassoonist, composer, arranger, who recently relocated to Nashville for some good opportunities and a much more enriched environment for a talented musician than the Mid-Willamette Valley. Upper northern Mid-Willamette Valley is where we're located. So one of the experiments this year is to do this live streaming effort. Once again, my name is John Deschler. I'm a globally published commercial photographer, an exhibited photographer, a musician, a little bit of a filmmaker, the proprietor now of this humble 100-seat space theater in downtown Mount Angel, Oregon. And I am as well the vice president of the Oregon Substitute Teacher Association, a very wonderful endeavor and group of dedicated educators who've initiated, fostered, and nurtured that organization. A very unique organization, I might add, in the country. There are not too many statewide substitute teacher associations. And I intend to get some of them in here, my fellow board members, and perhaps membership, to begin to discuss the state of education overall, particularly in the state of Oregon. So that's what this is about. My attempt at engaging intelligent, sophisticated conversation in a uniquely small, rural, historically agrarian town and community. Briefly, Mount Angel is somewhat well known for two particular things. One is the world-famous Benedictine Catholic Abbey called the Mount Angel Abbey, Benedictine University, if you will, or college for monks and priests to pursue their professions. It exists about a half a mile from where I am, downtown Mount Angel right now, on a beautiful knoll, little hill that's about 4 or 5 miles separated from the edge of the foothills. That would be the western edge of the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. Truly a geographic anomaly that human beings must have enjoyed for thousands of years, I'm thinking, before the so-called Anglo-Saxons showed up in the mid-19th century. And the Abbey is absolutely a wonderful place to visit. It has incredible views, particularly on a beautiful day. It's very serene up there. They've got a classic and beautiful church with 2 incredible organs in it. I believe the monks do Gregorian chant at least once, if not twice a day still, every day. They have a Bach festival up there annually in the summer. They have a renowned library full of incredible collections and built by an incredible architect whose name is eluding me right now. They've got a fun little museum. They've got a retreat house. And it is a spectacular and beautiful place to visit. If you come to Mount Angel, you should not miss the opportunity to go up and take a peek at, if nothing else, the Mount Angel Benedictine Abbey. They also have a tap house brewery on the side of the hill. That would be the western edge, essentially, southwestern edge of the hill that the Abbey campus is built on. The other significant thing about Mount Angel is the annual Oktoberfest, billed as one of the largest this side of the Rockies. They do get apparently hundreds of thousands of people over the course of a essentially 3 or 4 day weekend in the middle of September. This year, I believe, it's the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th of September. Don't ask me why the Oktoberfest is in September. It would be conjecture on my part to answer, and I have a feeling it might have to do with the weather. But it is a kind of a fun event. There's Papa bands and the chicken dance going on left and right, exhibitors and artists and food carts, and many of the local churches and lodges bring a food cart booth to serve food to folks. And then there's the beer garden and the wine garden and the fest hall, and there's Bavarian happenings throughout the 3.5 days of the event. And this year I'm going to try to offer a more diverse and robust schedule of performers, which I've already begun to secure, from Portland particularly, and maybe a little bit from Salem, to come down and offer alternative programming, which is to say just not Papa or Bavarian offerings, because there's plenty of that outside of this little theater. But we are at ground zero, and I thought it would be nice to offer some alternative performances. So we're going to have some jazz and some classical music, some original classical music, all performed and or written by local Oregonians in the nearby urban communities. And I'm undoubtedly going to show a couple of my films. I have a Mount Angel history film that I made a year or two ago with the help of the Historic Society, and maybe a couple of my tour videos, which you can find on YouTube. So, and then the third leg of the experiment with this unique space this year is to offer it up for private movie watching parties. Bring your favorite friends and family, 50, 60, 70, 80 of them, and your favorite DVD. You can buy hamburgers and beer next door and bring it over here, or bring pizza in, whatever you like. And we've done this a few times, and it seems to be a good time for all. It's a kind of an intimate setting. 100-seat theater is really just almost like a slightly large living room, I might add. So we get to have kind of an intimate experience for one and all when we participate with audiences here at the Mount Angel Theater. Okay, so that being said, I also should speak to this beautiful painting, very large 10 by 16 foot canvas painted by my dear friend John Simpkins, an incredible lifelong artist, painter. You can look him up on the social media. He's all over the social media. And I think what I want to do is move my stool now out of the frame and let you all look at the painting. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a verbally guided tour of this spectacular painting. John and I met on the social media, essentially Facebook, when he was living out in the Alvord Desert in a ghost town called Andrews for about 10 years with his poodle. I think the poodle at the beginning of that time was Phoebe. And this painting is of his next poodle named Chaya. So this is Chaya. And John painted this painting, his largest canvas, I believe, at the Churchill School in Baker City, after he was asked to leave the Alvord Desert and the Andrews, ghost town of Andrews, Oregon. After 10 years, he was there. And my son Nate and I had visited John out there in Andrews in that first summer of COVID, when I had put the large upright piano in the back of my pickup truck. And we made videos all over the state, everywhere from the Alvord Desert to the Astoria Column and the Painted Hills and many other places in between. Beautiful, gorgeous Oregon landscapes. And Nate and I went over that first summer with the piano in the back of the pickup truck to play for him and Chaya in the front yard of his old schoolhouse and teacher's house in the ghost town of Andrews. And that's the first time we actually met in person. And then in the ensuing couple of summers, once he moved to Baker and whatnot, our relationship blossomed and continued, and we connected. I had moved out to a little place called Markham, Oregon, in about 2010, and some of my friends, a couple of my friends, had alluded to this gentleman named John Simpkins, who had moved to an even more remote place in Oregon to do his work. And it was kind of reminiscent of some of the ideas that were propelling me to live in a rural life in this modern era of technology to do and practice my crafts and art forms. And that's how I decided ultimately to reach out to John. We had spoken a few times, I think, prior to meeting him in person. As I said, having lived out there in the ghost town for 10 years, he was highly engaged on the social media, namely Facebook, to stay connected to friends and family and to share his life and what was going on out there in the ghost town. So by the summer of 2021, I believe it was, or possibly 2022, actually, now that I think about it, we made videos in his studio in 2021 at the Churchill School in Baker City, a wonderful place. And then I think it was the summer of 22, I was invited to perform at the Powder River Review in downtown Baker. And that was the trip that ultimately he and I discussed the proposition of the possibility of me bringing this beautiful painting back to this unique little theater in Mount Angel, Oregon. So, and given the fact that this theater was renovated and created in its contemporary configuration by my dear friend Stu Rasmussen, the first openly transgendered mayor in the country, very unique individual, I thought it might be fun to continue to up the engagement of the art in the space. So I had this vision that maybe I should bring this painting back here and have it live here for a while. And then John Simpkins had an opportunity and decided ultimately to move to one of the Amana colonies in Iowa. Another story for another day. But with that being said, John allowed me to take possession and custody of the painting. It's available for sale. You can be in touch with me or him. And I just want to go over some of these wonderful details. You've had a chance to look at it for a minute. Notice that first and foremost, it took me initially a minute to recognize and read this when I first saw it. But there's John Simpkins on the back of his poodle, laying kind of like a Grand Odalisque, if you will, on the support system of the back of the poodle, which is just done exquisitely and some beautiful curves. Mind you, again, this is all done by hand with paintbrushes. He's got a lot of gold leaf on here as well. So to me, that's one of the most spectacular dynamics elements in the painting. Of course, you've got the golden, reddish, radiating sun, which I think is indicative of a very positive paradigm and vibration, reflection of his overall relationship with his poodle, which is, needless to say, very close. If you live in a ghost town for 10 years with nobody around, obviously you're going to be pretty connected to your dog if you have one. And I think that's what this painting ultimately represents, is a very warm and loving and joyful relationship where they shared life together over the course of a number of years. Down here at the lower right, in a little bit of the shadows, is John's house at the Andrews Ghost Town. That was the teacher's house. And his Jeep. You've got a little kite flyer down here, flying a kite that's in the shape of a pyramid with a beach ball elevated, flying above them. There's this whole oceanic dimension going on here in this gray, wavy area. You've got a wonderful little red reminder thread tied around the poodle's front right paw, a gorgeous swan with a rainbow. and a few other notable details. Bicyclist going up a mountain, kind of like the little engine that could, I think. I think I can. You've got a ship over here going towards a night sky and a pyramid. And literally the Twin Towers next to a tall mountain. I'm not sure which mountain that might be. Could be any of the Cascade Mountains. Could be Mount Fuji in Japan, or any tall peak. And it really is just exquisite. I've always loved the color palette of this piece, the way he's very freely organized the composition, yet it has some serious structure to it too. So this painting is called Chaya. It's by John Simpkins. Just before COVID, John had a one-man show at the High Desert Museum outside of Bend, Oregon, and a nice piece that OPB did on him. And after being in Oregon, I think for just about maybe 30 years, he opted for a change of environment and relocated about a year ago to Iowa, one of the Yamanas in Iowa, where he's repurposed an old granary. I think it's about a 3,000 square foot brick historic granary building in one of the Amana colonies. I think it's South Amana, small town, not too far from Cedar Rapids. And he's doing some incredible work on that space to make it the way he wants it and likes it, before I think he'll probably start painting again here pretty soon. John's in his early 70s, and he hailed originally from the wine country Sonoma in California, which is something else he and I had in common since I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. So anyways, Chaya, the painting, about 10 by 16 on canvas. I believe it's acrylic paint. He told me once, and I haven't reviewed that content for a minute, so I'm going to have to do that someday soon. But it is spectacular. Take another wide look at it. Quite fun, particularly if you're a dog lover. When Nate and I visited John and Chaya at the Andrews Ghost Town, I still had my beautiful best friend Theo, my St. Bernard, with me. He came on that trip with us, and he got to meet Chaya. So this is all do-it-yourself. I'm trying to become comfortable and aware and sophisticated and knowledgeable about this whole live streaming thing that we've all been engrossed and engaged in, particularly since the COVID advent. And I just thought it might be a nice intersection to be able to do a live stream and broadcast live and recorded from the Mount Angel Theater. The image I've had in my mind is kind of like Mayberry meets McNeil Lair in Mount Angel, with a little bit of Prairie Home Companion salted in that concept. We did our first live stream last Saturday night with some of my musician associates. It went well, but I didn't have the volume settings up correctly. And just this last 4 or 5 days, I've been working intently on trying to get the volume settings correct for both my voice, so that this voice is fairly robust and loud, such that most people, depending on the devices they're listening on or watching on, might, if anything, want to turn them down a little bit. since it seems like that's where most of the quality YouTube videos put themselves in terms of their audio levels. It's a little bit tricky because we have live sound that I'm not using right now in here, and then the sound mixer that goes into the computer, the online broadcasting software, which is all I'm using right now. And I think it's working pretty well. If what I did test-wise yesterday is still working, then it should be working fairly well. So the other thing I thought I might do here is a little bit of a horn test live to double check that there's no ducking or clipping or cutting out of the audio signals. I've had that issue, and I've had too low of levels issues. So I think yesterday I've conquered both of those issues. The third one will be to integrate this system with the live system for when we have live audiences. So that's the next thing to confront with this whole setup. In this setup, I have to tell you all, the newest element is probably about a 4-year-old laptop. Otherwise, I'm repurposing old cameras and microphones from my stash, from Stu's stash in the building, and just trying to see what can happen. I've got one digital handheld Sony camcorder for camera number 1 right in front of me. I've got one of my Sony NEX7 DSLRs for the side view. And then actually the newest thing is the rear camera, which is just a USB webcam that I got in the last 6 months for this purpose. So all of which seems to be working. It will be tricky to get it to integrate with the live sound. I thought perhaps I might be able to do a play along today, but for some reason the interfacing between the OBS system and the house sound is not going well. I'm getting feedback, so I might need to do a consultation with my illustrious creative partner Neil Grandstaff and or my eldest son Nate Deschler in Nashville, who've been both incredibly supportive of this endeavor on my part. So appreciate everyone who's participated here in the last 2.5 years to help me keep this place alive as a inspirational place of art and craft and performance. And that's what I'm going to continue to do as long as I own this building. So there it is. This may be a shorty. I think what I'm going to do is grab my horn, which is going to take me 1 minute to walk to the back of the room because I didn't set it up right next to me yet. And then I'm going to turn down the audio on this mic and go to the other mic and play, just do a little warm-up or a little playing in. By the way, this weekend I'll be performing with the, I'm trying to remember what the name of it is, with a bunch of Portland musician friends, particularly in the gospel realm, at apparently the 40th anniversary of, it might be the 40th anniversary of what would be the new Pioneer Courthouse Square is what I'm thinking. Let me see. It's called Albina Music Trust presents Time and Sound, Albina's Gospel Reimagined, at Pioneer Courthouse Square, 701 Southwest 6th Avenue, Saturday, July 20th, 4 to 5 p.m. And I've played with a lot of these people off and on for many years, having started out up there in the gospel world of Oregon about 12, 14 years ago at the Vancouver Avenue First Baptist Church, the only place in Oregon that Martin Luther King visited and spoke at. A fine historic inner city institution. So presented by my friend, producer Ken Berry. I'm not sure if he'll be performing with us. I used to play with Ken quite a bit at that church. He was a Hammond B3 player, and he also produces the largest MLK celebration in Oregon with his World Arts Foundation at the New Highland Christian Center every winter. I believe that's in January or February. They might have adjusted their schedules since the COVID. So that's going to happen this Saturday. This week I've also been in 2 rehearsals for a production of Oliver that's being produced by Clackamas Community College. And we'll have 4 performances at the new amphitheater at the Salem Riverfront Park on, I believe, 4 Tuesdays in August. A fine set of musicians and a fun score. I'll be covering the second trumpet part, and that's been fun for me. So I have a rehearsal with the gospel folks tonight in Portland at 5, and look forward to that. And tomorrow my Tune Tours Quartet does a private birthday party in West Lynn, Oregon, and then I'll do that performance at the Pioneer Courthouse Square on Saturday afternoon. Don't think I have any music gigs this Sunday. So stay tuned for more. I'll always try to promote everything that I'm doing and that my partners are doing, particularly my musician collaborators and partners. Appreciate them all dearly. And yeah, so I'm going to turn this mic number 2 way down, and I'm going to bring that mic number 1 over here and see about playing just a little bit. And forgive me, I have not warmed up or played a note yet, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, thank you. All right, folks, 1 minute. Please stand by. Okay, so here I am talking into this microphone, and as well I'm going to play into this microphone a little bit, trying to get all my tolerances and distances correct. This is my copper cancel flugelhorn, one of my favorite instruments to play. I've had this horn maybe getting close to 14 or 15 years now, and it's kind of starting to show because I've been playing it a lot. So there's a lot of technique to get going here, folks, to make this all work, and so I appreciate you bearing with me. Also appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up for the effort. At 61, the last thing I wanted to do was learn new software, but I have done so, and I will continue to do so, and work on this whole configuration for its functionality. So and for reasonable functionality and good operation. So I can start getting other people in here and engaging in some small town conversations, hopefully with some big ideas. All right. A little relaxing warm up, hopefully. Couple of simple intervals and long tones is what we'll call all of that. I believe I got that warm up from Joan Paddock, local professor of trumpet out at Linfield College. I'm not sure if she's still there. And here's an old one from Nelson Hatt. Well, I should say from Jimmy Stamp via Nelson Hatt. That'll mean something to you trumpet players and brass players. Trumpet is a very difficult instrument, in case you hadn't guessed, folks. A lot of coordination involved, a lot of subtle things that you can definitely overthink in the physics category. And I've been doing that off and on since I was 11 years old. So, but it's very good for you. Good for your mind, your body, your spirit, and your lungs, I might add. So don't knock it, and if you have a chance, take up a wind instrument. It's good for you. Even just to play simple, get simple tones and sounds out is very good for you. So that's the horn test. Let me do one right on top of it. Make sure it's not cutting out, overwhelming the technology and capabilities thereof. And forgive me for this poorly wrapped microphone. I didn't do that very well, but that will serve as a very good test on the horn and the software. Let me set this down. Coming back with my voice here. I set this at about 4 p.m. on the gain and the volume settings on the board. And there you have it. I'm calling this the 6th, ideally most successful live stream here at the Mount Angel Theater Studio so far in its infancy. And as I said, I'm getting closer and closer to getting some guests in here. Not sure if I'm going to have a really definitive schedule, because if you miss a live stream, you'll be able to catch it, on the recorded set of streams that are on this YouTube page, Mount Angel Theater Studio. And they'll have a life of their own, as people can then watch at their convenience, which seems to be the way of the world these days. So both of these mics are currently powered, by the way, or on. Don't know what that's going to do. I don't know if I've done it exactly like this. And I wonder if it gets twice as loud if I put these next to each other and go like this. Testing, 1, 2, 3, check, 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 check. That was another test. Lifelong learner here, John Deschler, and appreciate any and all of you who are supporting and nurturing and fostering and subscribing to my efforts. That waterfall picture is a composite that I made a number of years ago of the Abaquaw Falls locally. Literally not more than 15 miles from where I'm sitting, probably. Just outside of the Silver Falls State Park, which is a very beautiful waterfall-oriented state park. And I'm going to definitely do some live streams talking about photography as we move forward. But at the moment, I've got this advanced auto scene switcher moving these cameras around and images, and I'm sitting here off camera number 1, wanting to make sure that my auto switcher is working and that all my cameras are working. Camera number 1, I think I've got it timed at about 70 seconds. And then number 2 and number 3 are about 10 seconds apiece. And then the waterfall's about 10 seconds. And that just allows me to maximize. There we are. So now I'm waving to y'all, petting Chaya in the process. Be creative, folks. Look at that. Pat her on the back. She's a very good dog, by the way. Here I am. Okay, so everything has worked. I'm not sure how long this stream has been. Less than an hour. And I think I'm going to kill it so that I can review it and check it. And I hope to see you all again very soon, either virtually or in real time, at the Mount Angel Theater Studio at 220 East Charles in downtown Mount Angel, Oregon. We're between the Glockenspiel and the library, right across the street from the City Hall and the police department. And I hope to get those guys in here to speak with me sometime soon as well. So, once again, thank you for your attention. There it is. We've gone 44, almost 45 minutes, and I'm going to kill it. Everybody stay cool. Look out for friends and family and everyone else. Be kind to all sentient beings. And I hope to see you soon. Take care and have a wonderful afternoon and weekend. Signing out on this Thursday, July 18th at 10:50 a.m. Bye-bye.